Triple E EDC back again with another knife video. So this is the Spyderco Tuff, and guys, I apologize for the lighting. I'm having to record this in my office as opposed to my normal place, but so we got the fluorescent lights overhead, but anyway, just bear with me a little bit. In any event, this is the DLT exclusive version of the Spyderco Tuff. This is a long discontinued knife that was brought back but as a DLT exclusive. And, you know, back when I saw the Phoenix come back and a couple of other knives, I realized, and the Sleesh Buoy as well, or at least that's how Nick Shabazz pronounces it. Once I saw these knives start coming back, I sort of knew that the Tuff was going to be one of these knives that they bring back. They don't bring them back in their original configurations because Spyderco's policy is essentially once they discontinue the original configuration, they never bring it back. That's according to something I saw online from Eric Glesser himself once, who announced that. But you know, when I initially saw that, I didn't think these knives would come back. But once I saw that they started bringing back other versions of the same knife, I knew it was a possibility. In any event, this knife came back, and instead of being the original 3V, it came in Cruwear. A couple of changes from the original. It's in Cruwear. It has this tinitride coating. You have a G10 scale here that is flat instead of the dimpled, configuration that it had, and there's no dimpling on the back on the titanium either. So the original one had titanium with dimpling. So you can guys can go look that up on what the original looked like. But DLT likes to do these OD green and black exclusives. And so that's what you're seeing here. All right, let's go ahead and do some size comparisons because this is actually a pretty big knife. So let's go ahead and look at, sort of the quintessential 3.5-inch knife is sort of the size that a lot of people know. This is the O-Knife Drever. Again, sorry about the lighting, guys, but at least you get an idea of the knives themselves. This is a Spyderco Smock as far as the size. This is the Spyderco PM2, Paramilitary 2. And here is the Spyderco, the aforementioned Sleesh Bowie. And just because I think this is a knife a lot of people are going to end up having who may be interested in the Tuff, that is the Ace Grand. And here is a smaller knife. Here you can see against it the QSP Penguin. And a bigger knife as well, just for good measure. And another DLT exclusive in that black and green combo, the Formax Scout from Cold Steel. So you can see this is a big knife, but it's not like the biggest knife you can buy from DLT. By the way, both of these you can buy through my DLT links below. If you are interested in buying either one of these knives or any of the knives that are recommended, it definitely helps the channel if you use the link below at no cost to you. But go ahead and definitely watch the end of the review so you can get an idea of what I think about the knife. All right. So this knife, what's good about this knife? So first off, I love the fact that they brought this back, and I love the fact they brought it back in Cruwear. Cruwear is actually my favorite steel, at least for now. I know MagnaCut came out, and everyone's clamoring about MagnaCut, but it's not widely available. I also love Van X, not widely available. As far as widely available steels, Cruwear is my favorite. It's just got a great combination of toughness and edge holding that not a lot of other steels have, so I really like that. And the fact that this is a nice thick blade with that tough steel means that you can really use this in a lot of applications. I don't necessarily think that you should definitely apply a ton of lateral force, especially with the hole in the blade, but you can definitely use this for a lot of thicker applications that might require a tougher steel. So that's great. Next is the action on this is really nice. It's got a washer action, phosphor bronze washer action, but it's really smooth. And the blade is a little heavy. So, and I've got the camera sort of low here, but you can see it does sort of, drop, not drop shut, but it'll drop, to a degree, and then it just slides sort of in smooth shut, which is, it has a nice action in that regard. And it's very smooth when you're rolling it out as well. Not quite like a Chris Reeve, but very smooth nonetheless. So that's great. Next thing is the texture on the scale is nice. It's pretty much similar to the PM2, what you get on a regular G10 scale from the Paramilitary series, Paramilitary 2, Para 3. So that's great. Titanium's lock side I really love. I kind of wish this was an all titanium just because I love all titanium construction, but The titanium lock slide on this is good, and it does have a steel lock bar insert here. I don't know if you can see it. It is not, there's no like screw on the outside where it screws in. The screws are actually on the inside. I don't know if you can see that. You can probably see that there. The screws are on the inside, but it does have that steel lock bar insert so that you don't get lock stick, which is great because not every Spyderco, especially from Taiwan, has the steel lock bar insert. So you can see this is the sleeves Bowie. And I don't think this one has the steel lock bar insert. Doesn't have any lock stick, but and it's also from Taiwan. But it's good that I don't have to deal with that issue. Next, this tinitride coating on this is really good. So far, it's held up really, really well. You can see sort of, I've done some testing on here, and you don't have any of the rub off here like you do on Cerakote, at least not so far anyway. DLC is going to be I believe DLC is going to be harder than the tinitride, but I haven't seen any real wear issues with tinitride, so I think it's kind of cool. It's also a little bit more sheen. It's almost like, instead of DLCs being a matte black, this is kind of a sheen black, which is kind of interesting. So, but it does show fingerprints, as you can see. So just be aware of that. It's a little bit of a fingerprint magnet. Next on this is the action on this. Like I said, is great. There's a lot of fidgetability to this knife. There's the flick here. There's the rollout. There is the fuller can be used to Spidey flick as well. It's hard to do it under the camera, but there we go. A little bit of wrist on that, just but it does flick out when it's not under camera. It's really fun to sort of fidget around with, and I like the sort of the Edge Shemp sort of pistol grip of this knife as well. I will say on ergonomics, this is really, really comfortable in this position right here. I have size large gloved hands. I'd probably say on ergonomics, this is a good 8 to 8.5 out of 10. It's not higher because of the flat scales. There's nothing contoured. They're completely flat. But it really is very comfortable right here. Also, there's just this little space right here, which doesn't, for me, it doesn't quite fall exactly where I want, so I got to knock a little bit off for that. But it really is, mostly very comfortable, like, much more than a lot of other knives. So very happy about that. In this position right here, I don't find it to be especially comfortable. I'd say more like a, maybe a 7 out of 10, 6.5 to 7 out of 10, especially with the fact that you've got a lot of space in between here and the blade. As far as using it, you sort of feel a little weird. So you get sort of that, well, I'll get to that in the bad. We'll get to that in a few minutes. The ergonomics on this are pretty good, so I'm pretty happy with that. Next is, well, that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and talk about the bad of this knife, because there is some bad on here. One is the lanyard hole here. I do not like these lanyard hole clips that they have. The lanyard hole is pretty far down in the knife. It could be higher, but it's not, mainly to accommodate, I believe, the blade here. But as a result of being right here and being with the clip here, the clip sits significantly far down, and it has this clip with the lanyard hole in the middle, so you've got all this sticking out over here. Is that a huge problem for this knife? Not really, but it's definitely not a discreet carry, because you can see this is what's sticking out of your pocket when you're walking around, right? So definitely not discreet. Next is the one of the things that bothers me is this. Okay, so you have the gray color of the titanium, you have the black color of the backspacer, you have the green color of the G10, and you have the silver color of this stainless steel liner, which, by the way, is milled out. So it's nice that they milled out that stainless steel liner, as you can see. But, green G10, silver, black, gray. It does not look good on the back. I think they could have done something different with here. Even just doing a titanium liner, I think would have made a huge amount of difference, because then you'd have consistent coloring. So a little bit disappointed with that. Kind of hoped, especially for the price, that they would do that. Which brings me to the next issue, which is the price. The price on this was, I believe, $315. This is not a cheap knife, right? So you can get 2 paramilitary 2s, or approximately two pair of 3s, almost 2 pair of 2s for the same price of this. It's expensive. But it is a thick piece of Cruwear. So it's hard to, and with titanium from the Taichung, Taiwan factory. And if you're okay paying, $400+ for this, I think that it's okay to pay the $315 for this. That being said, it is quite a bit. Next is this grip right here. I do not like this grip. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, it leaves your finger way too far from the blade. It gives you very little control, and you sort of feel, up in your arm that cramping from holding it while you're doing cutting, in an awkward position. So maybe I'm just not using it the way the designer intended. Again, Ed Shemp's the designer on this, but it's uncomfortable to use in this position. That being said, in this position, it is an absolute joy to use, and it actually cuts really well through cardboard. I did not think it would cut as well through cardboard as it does, especially given how thick this is, but it really does a great job through cardboard, zips right through it. Not quite as well as like a Paramilitary 2 or a Sleeves Bowie, but it really, really does well with cardboard. I was very impressed. And very happy with that. So just a thought on that. And yeah, this grip is great. Overall, my thoughts on it. Okay, so I have a couple of concluding thoughts on this. One is, do I recommend it? So first of all, I recommend it-ish. Okay, so it is definitely not an everyday carry for me. It's not something I would necessarily carry every day, but it is a cool knife that I loved having in my collection for a little bit, and I enjoyed carrying it around while I did. But it's not necessarily for the long term for me. That being said, I have sorry I don't have this here as a comparison knife, but I have the Strider SMF. And one of the things the Strider SMF does is it's really good in that close-up grip, and the handle to blade ratio, or the handle to cutting edge ratio is not good. So this knife is very similar to that in that regard, that the handle to cutting edge ratio is not necessarily as good as it could be, in most knives. But when you get that close-up grip here, it is really, really nice. And when you get that far grip here, it is not as nice. So it really reminds me of the SMF in that regard. And if you like Striders and you like the SNG, you like the SMF, you like a larger folder like this, I actually think this is a great knife for you. So if that's your style. One other option to keep in mind, like I said, is that Formax Scout. So this gives you, sort of that really nice large folder carry. Gives you the green and the black, the tie-nitride coating on both of these, and so you get that sheen on here as well. This is a much cheaper steel. This is, I believe, AUS 10A, yeah, which I think is like a VG10 almost. So that's AUS 10A, and then this is. I could be wrong on the VG10, but it holds much better than AUS 8. Let me put it that way. Holds an edge much better than AUS 8. But this is also a plastic as opposed to G10. It's like an injection molded plastic instead of G10. But it really feels pretty good for the money. And this thing runs like $115 or something. So it's about a third of the price, a little more than a third of the price. And you're getting a really nice big folder. It has a really nice choke up on this. It really cuts through things very well. So if you want something that's just gigantic and has this color combo, go with the Formax Scout. If you want something that's that's pretty good, almost as big as the Formax Scout, but not quite that big, feels really comfortable in hand up here in that choke up position, and has that color combo, but also has a more premium feel and features like better steel and a titanium lock bar or lock side, then this is for you. So again, would I recommend it as an everyday EDC? Not really, but it really is something that I can recommend if this is the type of thing you're into. And I've definitely been into it for quite a bit. So if you're interested in either of these, again, hit that DLT link below. It helps the channel, no cost to you, and I appreciate your guys' time. Thank you.